Well, it has been a while. I'm not quite sure how long it's been. I think January maybe was the last time I made a video. A lot of shit's happened since then. A lot of stuff that's dragged me away from having any time to make videos. But I have a bit of time now, so let's do it. So I think the last video I made was around the time that Sargon was appearing for debates and promoting his liberalism-ist movement, which, I don't know, I think, is that already over? Or are the liberalism-ists still around? Are they still alive and kicking? Well, anyway, that was around the time I last made videos, and I was getting a lot of traffic because I had Sargon of Akkad in my videos' titles, and he was the hot topic on YouTube at that moment. And then I got shut down again. So I had to delete my videos, or I was pretty sure I was going to lose the channel again, and I thought it wasn't worth risking it. So it's pretty clear to me that if I want to stay on YouTube, I'm gonna have to make some changes. Unless I just want to keep getting censored all the time, and I don't see how that's a good idea. It seems to be very counterproductive. I mean, yeah, it's great to start out, but when things are not working, when someone keeps throwing a spanner in the works, maybe it's time to change the way you are making content. Now, firstly, I'll just say sorry to anyone out there who's wondering where the fuck I've been for the last few months, but I'm sure you all know about life and the things that it can do to you, and the places that it can take you, and how it can waste your fucking time and take up all your fucking time on bullshit. But anyway, enough whinging. Yeah, also there was a lot of people that left me messages or comments saying they missed my videos, or hoping that I would come back soon. So yeah, thanks for all that. It is appreciated. It's always good to know that people miss your content. It certainly inspires you to create more. It definitely beats receiving no feedback, that's for sure. So yeah, thanks everyone for those kind words. Alright, so I think I need some form of build-up here. Some musical number. Something totally over the top and absolutely ridiculous. Yes, so how to avoid being constantly censored on YouTube? Because there are people out there who have channels who talk about similar things to what I talk about, and they're not getting censored. So you could whinge all day that you're being censored and boo fucking who, but no one cares. So if you want to avoid getting censored, you have to figure out how to do that. And obviously I'm not very good at remaining uncensored. I never make it very far. I've never even made it to 1,000 subs. So clearly there's something about what I'm doing here that YouTube doesn't like, and I have to try and avoid being detected on their radar, so to speak. So I think one way to do this, and I think a lot of other people should think about this as well, is how you sort of frame your channel, how you present it, from what angle are you coming from. And I was thinking about things like, if you called yourself a free speech advocate, that is a totally acceptable frame in the modern world. Not too many people who aren't completely insane have a problem with a free speech advocate. So there are many advantages to calling yourself a free speech advocate because it is acceptable. And being a free speech advocate, you advocate that people should be able to say basically whatever they want. They should be able to voice whatever opinions they have. So one way that you could advocate for free speech is to exercise your free speech and talk about the things that you want to talk about. That's what any good free speech advocate would do. Also, you have to take into consideration that there are certain frames, there are certain ways of presenting yourself that will be picked up on the radar immediately, and you will have no chance of getting to say the things that you want to say, and you will be constantly censored. A free speech advocate could say exactly the same thing as a less acceptable frame, but the content has not changed, only the way it's presented. Something to think about, because I don't think being constantly censored is going to be productive. I think it's pushing shit uphill, so to speak. So if you think about it like from a military perspective, there are certain topics, certain frames that are beyond what is acceptable to the average person in the modern day. And if you take those stances, you will receive heavy fire and you will likely be forced to regroup and start all over again. But further back towards the safe zone, Allied territory, there are different frames and different stances that you can take. These are more acceptable and accepted by more people in the modern day. Also, you will be dragging other people who identify with the frame that you take. You will drag them into the battle, really whether they like it or not. And this could be a good or a bad thing, but either way, I think it's something worth looking into. Something to think about. Anyway, YouTube has ruined so many people's lives with this censorship thing. It is incredibly unfair, and it really should be the sort of thing that destroys a business model. But I think we can all see that it really doesn't. There is no real competitor for YouTube, not yet. So that is why I think it is important to stay on YouTube. The other channels probably make up 5% of the market collectively, if that. And yeah, I think if you want to be effective, YouTube's the place. If you want to be raw and relentless, then I guess you're gonna have to do it off YouTube, because YouTube is no place for that, it would seem. Maybe it would be good to have a combination of both. You have a YouTube channel that is a little more vanilla, a little more user-friendly, a little more acceptable in the modern world, and then a separate channel on one of YouTube's piddling competitors where you can say exactly what you want. I'm not sure, but I've been thinking a lot about this stuff, and I think it's worth trialing it out. Yes, this constant YouTube censorship. There was the YouTube shooter, I don't know how long ago, this crazy woman she's Roosh V's female doppelganger. And yeah, she shot a bunch of people in YouTube. Now, I don't know if I'm the only one, but I kind of smiled when I heard this story. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who would love to walk into YouTube headquarters and take a few shots at the staff. More importantly, the boardroom. That would be fantastic if someone could get in there and remove some heads. But anyway, I thought it was pretty awesome. It seemed a lot of people thought it was a tragedy, but I think YouTube deserves to be kept on their toes a little. little bit of uncertainty in their lives. I also noticed that in the lobby of the headquarters that was shot up, they have this YouTube symbol with the triple parentheses around it. That's fucking great, isn't it? I mean, what do you say? Nice work, YouTube. Yeah, then there was that Nazi pug guy. What a fucking joke that is. But what he is a great example of where the line is, and he's playing around with the line of what is and what isn't acceptable. And it's very interesting to see how the establishment handles this, because he is right on that line. And what happens with him is crucial to what will happen in the future. But anyway, it is pretty stupid. It's obviously the guy is like a fucking, like some troll out of a fucking mythical story. The guy doesn't even look fully human. He's obviously a joker. And it's just a big joke, but whatever. Even jokes are could land you in jail. Right, the other thing I've really noticed as a listener rather than a talker lately is how many people are forgetting what should be a mantra to anyone who watches YouTube or any media. Don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see. Don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see. That should be like burned into your mind like a never-ending mantra, because there is so much bullshit being circulated right now. There's probably more bullshit than truth. Probably 10 times, thousands of times the amount of bullshit compared to truth. And people really are lapping it up and getting distracted. It's, I think a lot of people were thinking around the time Sargon was entering into debates, so-called debates with people, that was going to have some kind of an effect. That would be the start of something big, these big intellectual discussions that would change the way people think in massive numbers, and it turned out to be the biggest fizzer ever. Nothing happened at all. The only thing that happened was that we learned the weakness of intellectual discussion. Intellectual discussion almost doesn't matter, it would seem. It's almost irrelevant. People don't really care. Not at this point anyway. People are interested in being persuaded right now. Intellect doesn't matter. What matters now is propaganda, persuasion, persuasive language, persuasive imagery, persuasive content. That's what works. That's what's affecting people. That's what people even want to see. They're not interested in the intellectual side at all, except for maybe 10% of people. But I don't think that matters right now. And I think the Sargon thing proved it. And what do we have now? I think that was around the time that birthed this internet blood sports, which is, I mean, from what I can see, extremely low tier. It's like, I mean, this Warski Live, that is the new Jerry Springer. I don't know if any of you fucking people have noticed that. It seems a lot of people watch it, but if you watch Warski Live, yeah, you're basically a Jerry Springer fan. That's how I see it. It is total bullshit, total crap. And I've seen it to see what it's like, and the amount of money people throw at this fucking guy so they can make a comment. I don't understand that, but good luck to you. If you can just put on a live video and people throw cash at you so they can write a comment, I mean, what do you say? Good luck. Fuck. Yes, so don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see. Look, the one thing that all these media people have in common is that they're all full of shit. They're all fake. Every single one of them. There are no exceptions. It's like, it's a tight-knit clique, and the only way in is to prove yourself as being capable of being intensely full of shit. That's how you get in. There are no exceptions, alright? It's people just keep fucking digesting all the shit they put out there. Yeah, and I notice a never-ending people complaining, nitpicking each other. I can tell you why that's happening. It's because all these people doing the nitpicking have achieved fuck all. They've all got nothing to show for themselves, so they start looking at others. I would say to all people who are constantly nitpicking on people on their own side, how about you focus on doing shit instead? Don't worry about what other people are doing so much. Why not outshine them then, if you're so fucking great? And then they won't matter anymore. Yeah, a lot of whinging, and a lot of people listening to this whinging. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. There's much bigger things going on, and that's really what you should be focusing on. Now, when I say bigger things, how many of you knew that in February of this year was the World Government Summit in Dubai? And this is an annual event that's been going on for years. How many of you knew that? Look at all the people there, and what do you think these people are talking about? What do you think they talk about at a World Government Summit? You know, there are still hundreds of millions of people that will deny there's any such thing as a movement towards world government, that this is all conspiracy theory. It's only crazy people talk about this stuff. Okay, so why do they have a World Government Summit? What do they talk about at the World Government Summit? If you look at the companies that sponsor this World Government Summit, it's pretty clear that this is not a conspiracy. This is actually where we're heading, and from what I can see, there is no resistance to this. This is happening behind the scenes. This is not being talked about by anyone up front and in the public eye, but it's all happening anyway. People are being dragged away from this, and they're looking at puppet shows. They're looking at scripted drama. They're looking at nonsense, nothing that leads them nowhere. Meanwhile, the world government is forming. And I think one of the more important discussions over the next few years is going to be, like, people talk about like there's a massive resistance to this. Yeah? Where is it? I don't see it. All I see is escalation of world government. So I think one of the discussions is going to be is how the fuck do we survive through the creation of this world government? Because, I mean, from my perspective, this is happening. This is probably going to happen on at least some level. Maybe it will get off the ground and it will be halfway implemented before anything starts being done. I don't know. But if you know where the resistance is, tell me where it is, because I don't see it. They talk about how everyone's going to be microchipped, and that's sort of how you'll know. Well, I'm sorry, there's not going to be microchips, alright? The microchip is your smartphone. That's it. That's the ticket to the new world order. Everyone will have a smartphone, and that will have all your shit on it. And you won't be able to catch a bus unless you have one. You won't be able to catch a train, see a movie, go to the doctor. That's how I envisage it would look. The smartphone. Bitcoin and the smartphone. That's the new world order. And people have already fallen for it, right? It's already done. It's done and dusted. I'll just mention I don't have a smartphone, by the way, but, you know, it doesn't really matter, does it? Everyone else has one, so what the fuck? Actually, I'm kind of pissed off about this. The 2G network in Australia is about to be cut, and I'm about to lose my fucking phone that I've had for like 10 years, maybe more. This fantastic Nokia that still works absolutely perfectly. I only changed the battery once recently. I've dropped this phone off a 2-story building twice. It's smashed to pieces. You put it back together. It works perfectly. How many fucking iPhones can do that, huh? How many Androids? But they can certainly tell the fucking establishment exactly, like, everything about you, records all your conversations everywhere you go, and it's basically got your whole life on there from what I can see. And that seems to me to be an insane amount of information that you're giving to extremely untrustworthy people. And I'd want to be getting some extreme benefits out of having one of those phones to give away that much information. And I don't see where the benefits are. Oh, by the way, that Snapchat, yeah, people who use that, you're just uploading your facial dimensions onto a system. That's what you're doing. Like nightclubs and pubs in Sydney, a lot of them have a video camera outside, and they take pictures of people and scan their ID so they can get in, and they can't get in unless they do that. I think that is part one of getting people used to showing their ID to be able to just do basic things like go to a bar, right? And that will eventually become public transport, hospitals, yeah, banks, everything, right? You won't be able to do anything in civilization without a phone or some form of ID or a microchip, something like that. But I mean, it's already done as far as I can see. People are not going to be resisting this on any large level. I mean, except those that do, but I think it'll be a small percentage. And I think most people are going to sign up for this. They're not even going to be aware they're doing it, most of them. And, you know, tell me I'm wrong, but that's how it looks to me. I've also been listening to some of these crypto guys. I'm thinking about, I'll make a video where I ask one guy in particular he talks about how cryptocurrencies are going to bring down the central banks or something like that. But I've got a problem with that because the central banks do business with cryptocurrencies, right? So why would you do business with an entity that's going to destroy you? It doesn't make any sense. The only thing you have to do to stop it from destroying you is to stop doing business with them. It's fucking retarded. It's a big question that no one has answered yet. I've never heard anyone answer how cryptos are going to destroy central banks. You can trade cryptos for fiat currency right now. So yeah, I think I might put this as a formal question and address it to one of these people who I think is having everyone on. But it would be interesting to see if they answer the question and what that answer might be. You know, a lot of these people are the sort of people who claim to not know what the West is. They claim to be anarchists. They call themselves anarchist when they are capitalists. I don't know how capitalists became anarchists, but it makes no sense to me. But apparently they're trying to get away with it. Anarchy is now capitalism and the free market and all that shit. These fucking people and their fucking word games. Speaking of word games, this Jordan Peterson character, right? I might do a full video on this guy at some point because I don't understand why so many people think anything of him at all. And there are so many better speakers out there that you could be listening to that are not Jordan Peterson. You see, Jordan Peterson is globalist approved, right? They promote him on all of their media. That alone should be enough for you to think, why? Do these people mean you well? Do they want to teach you the sort of psychology that would be good for you? Or the sort of psychology that would be good for them? And that's exactly what Jordan Peterson is doing. He is a globalist shill. Whether he is actively or not, I don't know. But his message is, and he's an ideological idiot, if you ask me. And obviously, he's not an idiot, alright? But he is an ideological idiot. His worship of the individual is childish and moronic. He is the sort of guy who would cry on camera talking about individuals.
The horrors that accompany loss of faith in the idea of the individual. It is only the individual, after all, who suffers. The group does not suffer. Only those who compose it.
Yeah, it's like Christianity spilling out into philosophy. He has dogmatized the individual, like the individual is Jesus and God and all that, and the collective is the devil. And he speaks in these terms, right? It is childish nonsense. It probably strikes a chord with you if you're a Christian or you think on emotional terms like that. But, I mean, come on. Jordan Peterson is being sold as like some kind of masculine figure. He is a effeminate man, a weak man. When given the opportunity to be masculine, when he's asked tough questions in front of lots of people, he cowers. He does what any good shill would do and refuses to even talk about his masters. Or at least he is unwilling to talk about a genuinely controversial topic, not some fabricated fake controversy, but something real, something that could ruin your career. Yeah, he refuses to talk about it. And that is the sort of man that Jordan Peterson is. I don't think any amount of fucking cleaning his room is going to change that. Also, I came across this guy, G. Edward Griffin, who has a similar affliction to Jordan Peterson. And he seems determined to prove that groups do not exist. That a forest is just a bunch of individual trees. Now, you have to do some extreme mental gymnastics because of being overly fanatical about your ideology. You have to do some extreme mental gymnastics to think that a forest does not exist. It's just individual trees. Or that the concept of a forest is not valid, useful, that basically 100% of people who look at a forest, or 100% of people describe a forest, think of a forest, look at a forest, point to a forest. We're all thinking about the same thing, right? With subtle variations. But at the end of the day, it's very valid. A forest is no less valid than a tree. I mean, we can break down a tree if you want, and you can claim that it's just atoms, and therefore there's no difference between a tree and anything else. And like, how far do you want to push it? Is there any point to this? Or do forests exist? I would like to do a video in the future about Jordan Peterson, because a man with presenting ideas, those ideas need to be gone through in some detail. But I think overall, Jordan Peterson's main argument is that nurture can indeed overcome nature. And, tell him, Chris.
Nature versus nurture, Lodge. Nature always wins.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Nature always defeats nurture. In every case, all the time. It always will. I'd say that is Jordan Peterson's fundamental flaw in his arguments. But I would like to go through that in greater detail. I'll leave a little story here from Uncle Chop Chop, and he can explain to you all about the difference between nurture and nature.
We're back in 16th century Italy, right? And there was this lady, she was unmarried, which was a great sin. We were in the days of the Inquisition, and there was this lady called Camilla, and she was unmarried. She has a child, and the child was born a cripple. The child's name's Hooky. The cripple's got a hunchback, like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. But anyway, she takes in washing, and she does people's laundry, and she works her fingers to the bone to bring up this cripple. But because he was a cripple, he was never allowed into church, and because they thought it was bad luck. And she named the cripple Hooky. And every day, Hooky the cripple used to walk down the main street of Castelmanieri, Italy, right? Walk down the main street. And every day he used to have to pass Manuelo the butcher. Now Manuelo the butcher was a big merchant, and he had relatives in the Vatican, he had relatives who were members of the Inquisition, he had uncles that were cardinals, he had all this sort of stuff, He was a very wealthy merchant, and he had butcher shops all over the Kingdom of Italy, in the Kingdom of Naples, in the Kingdom of Verona. He had butcher shops in Sicily, he had everything. And every day he would rush out of his butcher shop and he'd say, Hooky! I'm telling you, you know walking past my butcher shop. You dirty rotten cripple. And he'd kick Hooky into the gutter, he'd kick him into the mud, he'd spit on him, and he'd say, you dirty rotten cripple. And Hooky just used to cop it sweet, because he used to go down every day to the main street to help the fishermen mend their nets.
Trying to be a good boy. He tried to be a good boy. Every day, work his fingers to the bone to help put food on the table for his poor mother. And every night he'd come home and complain.
Oh, Mama, Manuelo the butcher, he kicked me, he hurt me, he spit on me, he called me cripple, he said I should have been drowned at birth.
And his mother used to say to him,
Hooky, you can't do nothing to Manuelo. Manuelo is too powerful. You must turn the other cheek, like Jesus, turn the other cheek, that's all you gotta do.
So every day, Hooky the cripple would walk down the main street. Like this. Manuelo the butcher would come out. Hooky! You dirty cripple. You filthy rotten cripple. Every day you fucking walk past my butcher shop. You bring bad luck onto me. You bring bad luck onto my customer. Play, you fucking dog. Fucking kick him in the fucking gut and you belt him in the fucking head all the time. Fucking crack. Right? And every night Hooky would come home and complain, of course.
Oh, Mama!
She wasn't much fucking help, right? But one day, she has this idea. She decides to make Hooky a bloody coat. A coat of many colours, kind of like in the Bible. One of those fucking things anyway. This beautiful rainbow coloured coat. So he's got his coat on. He's singing to himself the next day, Manuelo the butcher, he can't hurt me no more. He'd be dazzled. He'd be blinded by this beautiful coat. So he's walking down the main street like this. And Manuelo the butcher sees Hooky coming from far off in the distance. He sees him and says, "Oh, Hooky, hey! Hey, little cripple, hey, Hooky, yeah, very nice coat. Beautiful coat, Hooky." Hooky's thinking to himself, by this stage, of course, "You little bloody beauty. Fantastic, I'm sweet as a nut here. Man, very nice coat, give me a look at your coat." Fucking bash! Hey? Yeah! Fucking kick him in the head, fucking smash him in the head, and pull him into the gutter, put mud all over him, smear him with mud and all sorts of shit, right? And this went on every fucking day. For days, for weeks, for months. Hooky the cripple couldn't even walk down the main street where he bloody lived without getting bloody kicked and bashed and spat on by fucking Manuelo the butcher. Right? So anyway, time goes on, and Hooky, he turns 21. And his mother says to him, "Hey, Hooky, yeah, you're a man now. You're a man. And because you're a man, I'm going to give you something to help with your work mending the fisherman's nets." So she gives Hooky this great big fucking knife.
Right. So I was mentioning before that intellectual discussion is almost meaningless, or so it would seem. It's not getting through to people in a mass level the way that propaganda does. And I'll give you a great example of propaganda and how it's worked and how it's basically taken over in the modern day. I'll use the so-called gay community, which now has all kinds of new names that I'm never ever going to voice because it's all fucking propaganda. But the sodomites and the lesbians, right? That group. If we still called them sodomites, they would not have the power that they do today. They are called gay today. Gay, which simply means happy in old speak, but in new speak, gay means you have sex with the same gender as yourself. I don't know how they did that, but they did it. They also associated gay people with the rainbow flag, which has absolutely nothing to do with being gay at all. But it is also generally a symbol of gayness or happiness. So what they've basically done is turned what used to be a disgusting perversion to most people. They've made that, they have framed it with rainbows and happiness, and they've presented it in a new light. And it worked. The city of Sydney is an absolute testament to this. I can tell you that there are more gay flags or rainbow flags in Sydney than there are Australian flags or any other kind of flags. Sydney is a city that worships gay people, worships sodomites and lesbians. The mayor is a lesbian. And yeah, you would, if you were an alien, you would assume that this is a gay city and it's ruled by gay people. It certainly seems to, it's like people are being bombarded with rainbow flags every day. So I guess you could say Sydney worships faggots. Propaganda is how that was achieved. No question. So I would say intellectualism is impotent and idle. Propaganda is potent and active. So I think less intellectual discussion, more persuasion, more poetic, artistic, persuasive language and images. That is more important. Intellect is for the few, but propaganda is for everyone. And it should get people not only on an intellectual, an artistic, emotional, but also on a subconscious level. This is also the power of propaganda, is that it can affect people without them even knowing about it. In fact, it's even better if they don't notice they are being affected. And that is exactly how the modern world works. Entertaining is better than factual. Compelling is better than true. Sensational is better than reasonable. The left, the modern left, has gained power largely through exploitation of the subconscious. That is why it is without reason. It was not created through reason. It was created through emotion and attachment and the subconscious. So also, one meme that came up a few months ago that I just can't get enough on is the 56% memes. They are fucking... That is funny shit, and my god, does that ring true. There are a lot of people who want to get in on the white nationalist bandwagon who are fucking 56% at best. And I don't understand why that is, but it's definitely a thing. I don't even know what to think about that. So you got this balding fucking creature that's not symmetrical in any way. Just a fucking... some beast. There's this little troll gremlin guy. Oh, it's fucking great. Humanity could look very similar to this. Well, parts of humanity anyway. Probably there will be parts of Los Angeles with little gremlin fucking big-lipped people with extra teeth, squinty eyes. The future faces of America. These are fucking so good. Oh, man. I think the 6% face, that's the one. That's 1%. The future faces of the USA. Yep, it could happen. That's Los Angeles. You're looking at your future. I also think, I don't know if this is new or not, but I think I'm going to introduce the toast scale. This is very similar to the 56%, but where do they lie on the toast scale, you know? Fresh out of the fresh bread, or, you know, lightly toasted, some medium toasting, and then there's the full crispy black. Yeah, so, you know, where do you lie on the toast scale? Where's the future of America lie on the toast scale? Anyway, all good stuff. So I think there's this constant need in people to know what's going to happen in the future. And this sort of thinking is futile. You'll never know. You'll never really know. I mean, you can speculate all you want, but no, the future is uncertain. And that is the way that you should look at it. Being uncertain. You should be prepared for the uncertain. But, you know, a lot of people are like, this is what's going to happen. This is what we have to do. Well, every single person that says that is exhibiting more faith than I'm capable of. Yeah, the only amount of faith that I'm willing to exhibit about the future is the sort of faith that I believe all of us have I mean, how many of you doubt that the sun will come up tomorrow morning? How many of you are uncertain or fearing that maybe the sun will not come up tomorrow morning? Well, I would think maybe there are a few people who fear it, uncertain about whether the sun will rise tomorrow. I think the vast majority of people have faith that it will. They don't understand fully why the sun will be coming up in the morning, but they know that it will and that it has so many times before. And that is the kind of faith that I have in the future. Beyond my control, but the sun will probably come up in the morning, just as it has so many times before. So I don't know where they get this belief from. I don't know where people get their certainty from, but I think I know where most of it comes from. I think I've seen this my whole fucking life, right? It's basically a lot of people are full of shit. People have figured out that if you start selling certainty to people, a lot of people are going to believe what you have to say. They're going to follow you and maybe, start giving you their resources to keep telling them how the future's going to be. But in reality, they don't have a fucking clue. And I don't know if most of these people are lying to themselves or not, but it's something, it's how there's just so much of this. And I do wonder where these people get their certainty from. But I do think of a great scene out of that Donnie Darko movie with the dad.
Whatever happens to you, be honest. Tell the truth. Even if they do look at you funny, they will. But what you got to understand, son, is that almost all of those people are full of shit. They're all part of this great big conspiracy. Bullshit. And they're scared of people like you. Because those bullshitters know that you're smarter than all of them. You know what you say to people like that? Hmm? Fuck you.
And yeah, that is exactly how I feel about the situation. And I think that might be a good note to end on. I guess I'll aim to make more videos in the near future. Hopefully there's not more months in between, but I don't know, right? I don't know how the future's going to work out. But anyway, here's the music.
Bye.